How do I deal with what I'm feeling? Maybe I just don't. What you're doing, I'm in ruins, all alone. I'm all alone. I'm all alone. And I know nothing to do helps me forget about you. You just came out of the blue. If you only knew, let's sit and have a cup of coffee. Let's go to a restaurant, go to a field, pick up some strawberries, then maybe let's fall in love. Sit and have a cup of coffee. Let's go to a restaurant, to a field, pick up some strawberries, then maybe let's fall in love. Sit and have a cup of coffee. Let's go to a restaurant, to a field, pick up some strawberries, then maybe let's fall in love. Deal with the feelings I feel when you come near me. All I can see is you and me together, building a future forever, loving till eternity. I see you, can't you see what you're doing to me? The way you got me, baby, it's like I can't even breathe. You're all that I need, and I know nothing to do helps me forget about you. You just came out of the blue. If you only knew, let's sit and have a cup of coffee. Let's go to a restaurant, go to a field, pick up some strawberries, then maybe let's fall in love. Sit and have a cup of coffee. Let's go to a restaurant, to a field, pick up some strawberries, then maybe let's fall in love. Sit and have a cup of coffee. Let's go to a restaurant, to a field, pick up some strawberries, then maybe let's fall in love. And maybe let's fall in love. Then maybe let's fall in love. Then maybe let's fall in love. I'm ready to go. Today I woke up feeling pretty good and feeling like I should go out on a run. Don't know where, I don't care. Put my headphones on and played my favorite song and drifted off to a different space. A different time and place. It's a feeling I can't ignore. It comes knocking on my door and I'm ready, I'm ready. When those bad thoughts find their way, I'ma slam the door and say, I'm not here to play. I tell them not today. Oh, nah, 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 not today. Today, maybe tomorrow, not today. Oh, nah, 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 not today. Not today, maybe. Today I woke up, skies are looking gray and I just wanna stay in bed all day. Then I pretend the sun is shining and butterflies are flying over my head. It's a feeling I can't ignore. It comes knocking on my door and I'm ready, I'm ready. When those bad thoughts find their way, I'ma slam the door and say, I'm not here to play. I tell them not today. Oh, nah, 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 not today. Today, maybe tomorrow, not today. Nah, 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 not today.
This time is the perfect summer night. And those three words are spelled out in your eyes. But before I go on, say something wrong. I just hope and bite my tongue. 'Cause you've been told too many times before. Yeah, you've been told so many times before. So I'm gonna try with something new. And I'll never say that I love you. When the line between us just fades and blurs. That's the time when we just don't need more words. 'Cause you've been told
I've been taking mornings slowly, waking up with the sweet sound of the birds, reading books and sipping coffee. I forgot how much I love getting lost in words. Well, it took us a while to get here. It took the world falling apart, but maybe we needed to take a step back to remember how lucky we are. It's like time is falling asleep in the afternoon. Sunlight that's keeping us warm. Against our will, we're finally sitting still and savoring the days before they're gone. I wonder how it took us this long. Spend our evenings telling stories and playing games like we were all kids again. Sitting on the front porch laughing, it's gotta be the finest medicine. It's like time is falling asleep in the afternoon. Sunlight that's keeping us warm. Against our will, we're finally sitting still and savoring the days before they're gone. I wonder how it took us this long. This long, this long. It's like time is falling asleep in the afternoon. Sunlight is keeping us warm. Against our will, we're finally sitting still and savoring the days before they're gone. I wonder how it took us this long. This long. Waiting, patient, only thing that I've never been good at. No, no, chasing ways to have you to myself just like I should, yeah. Controlling all of my thoughts, I want you on my body. Turning me on, baby, you know you got me. Got me tripping over all of these lines, I can't fight you. I'm spinning down, head over my heart, turning inside out. Love me in the dark, looking at you now. I can't get enough when you touch me like that. Stick around, swear when we're together, heaven's on the ground. I'll do this forever, looking at you now. I can't get enough, I don't know how you did it. Boy, you got me spinning round your bedroom. Touch me like the sun touches the morning. Yeah, yeah, wind me up one look and you can read me like a story. Controlling all of my thoughts, I want you on my body. Turning me on, baby, you know you got me. Got me tripping over all of these lines, I can't lie, yeah. I'm spinning down, head over my heart, turning inside out. Love me in the dark, looking at you now. I can't get enough when you touch me like that. Stick around, swear when we're together, heaven's on the ground. I'll do this forever, looking at you now. I can't get enough, I don't know how you did it. Boy, you got me spinning round my head, touching me like that. Stick around, swear when we're together, heaven's on the ground. I'll do this forever, looking at you now. I can't get enough, I don't know how you did it, boy, you got me spinning. I used to stick around, definitely not for too long. But boy, you got me hooked and made me wanna write this song. That all guys are the same, apparently I was wrong. Let me take you somewhere where we could be alone. You know how people say it caught me unexpected. Well, I really wasn't prepared for all of this love and affection. Normally I would be scared, but I'm aware that you're special. So let me take us somewhere where we could be alone.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our midterm press conference on the Belgian presidency of the Council of the EU. It's quite incredible how time flies. I have the impression that we just launched the presidency last week. They say that you don't see time pass when you're having fun, and indeed, we are having a lot of fun and a lot of pressure as well, the pressure of time, the pressure of the geopolitical situation, and the urgent need as well to address the many challenges at the end of our legislature period. Our engagement 4 months ago was to deliver, and I think that we can say today that we kept our promise. You certainly remember the baseline of the Belgian presidency: protect, strengthen, and prepare. These three keywords guide us to address our two main challenges. First, to finalize as many legislative files as possible, and second, to contribute to the strategic agenda to reshape and to reform our union. And allow me to start maybe with our first challenge. The question is, did the famous Belgian compromise live up to its reputation? Haven't we been able to tackle the massive legislative work on the table of our presidency? If you remember, where we had about 100 texts to deal with, and around 60 of them had the potential to be finalized during this legislature, and I can assure you that our teams have spared no efforts. I've seen firsthand the incredible energy and engagement of our diplomats to conclude the trilogues, and with success. No later than yesterday, I've signed 12 new agreements, and until now, we have been able to finalize in total 67 legislative files, a number that exceeds everyone's expectations. And it would certainly take too much time to go through all the files in detail, but you will find the complete overview in the document you've received. I would just highlight a few. Under the pillar to protect, we have succeeded in finalizing the European Media Freedom Act, started work on the defense of democracy package, and kept a strong focus on the rule of law with progress on Article 7 for Poland. It is clear that the new Polish government wants to implement the necessary reforms to close Article 7 procedures. And we have also strengthened the dynamics on the annual rule of law dialogue by hearing more member states, 4 by 4 and not 3 by 3, as it was previously. We also passed major legislation to defend workers' rights with the anti-trafficking directive, and we passed the first directive combating violence against women and domestic violence. Let's go to our second pillar, to strengthen. We have agreed on a set of ambitious financial proposals, such as the revision of the MFF 21-27. We have set up STEP, the Strategic Technologies for Europe platform, to support our European industry and to boost investment in critical technologies in Europe. And we have also agreed on the Net Zero Industry Act. Strengthening our union is also strengthening our solidarity when it comes to migration. And for this, we have finalized the Migration and Asylum Pact. This is an important step that will allow us to address one of the most pressing concerns for our citizens. I know that there are critics, but it's the first time we have a comprehensive approach, and what is needed now is the political will to make it work. And we have also strengthened our European cyber defense capabilities with the finalization of the Cybersecurity Act and Cyber Solidarity Act files. In these times of polarization and hybrid warfare, this is also an important step forward. And finally, our third pillar, to prepare. Of course, when we talk about future, one of the main challenges to address is climate change. There we have, among others, pushed forward important Green Deal initiatives. But as I said, the list of all 67 files is too long to discuss in full detail here, and I repeat, you have a complete overview in the document you received in, and if you need more details, you can always consult my colleagues, the ministers who preside the specific councils. And I really want to take this opportunity also to explicitly thank everyone who has contributed to this success so far. Of course, the European Parliament, the European Commission, the Council services, and my colleagues ministers, but also everyone at the Federal Public Service Foreign Affairs and the Belgian Permanent Representation who has worked day and night against the clock to complete as many files as possible. They have certainly honored Belgium's reputation of being an honest broker and deal makers. It really was a collective effort, thanks to everyone sincerely who has made this possible. Team work makes the dream work. A European presidency is also dealing with unforeseen circumstances and geopolitical developments. And for my own council formations, these were the wars in Ukraine and in Gaza. For the war in Ukraine, I'd like to stress that the EU is collectively doing its part against the backdrop of a worsening situation on the ground. We found an agreement on the MFF with the 50 billion for the Ukraine facility and the 5 billion Ukraine Assistance Fund to support the Ukrainian armed forces. And we have taken the first steps in preparing windfall revenues on immobilized Russian assets to be used for the support of Ukraine. Regarding the war in Gaza, the deeply concerning humanitarian situation, I worked very hard together with HRVP Borrell to rally member states around a joint statement calling for an immediate ceasefire, a humanitarian pause that should lead to a sustainable ceasefire, the unconditional release of hostages and the provision of humanitarian access. It is crucial that we continue to do everything we can to end the violence. The human toll of this war is just unacceptable, especially considering the number of women and children who have lost their lives since October 7. We all know that violence leads only to more violence. There is now more than ever a risk of a regional spillover of the conflict. The European Union must do more and unify its position to encourage the political process towards a two-state solution. This is the only way to prepare a peaceful future for both Israelis and Palestinians, and Belgium will continue to carry this message. To conclude, I would like to take a brief look ahead at the informal General Affairs Council planned at the end of this month, exactly 20 years after the major enlargements of 2004. The informal council will be a unique meeting. For the first time, all partners with a European perspective will be present, and the program will be built around two pillars. First, it will be a chance to learn from the past. We had a lot of questions back then, but look at where we are now with 27 countries on board. What is obvious is that enlargement has been a success story. Even if it is not easy to speak with one voice and take swift decisions with 27. And that's exactly why we need to reform our union. And second, we will highlight the core values of the EU: democracy, rule of law, and human rights. These are the pillars upon which our union stands. The European Union is not transactional, it is foundational, rooted in shared values, and it must remain so. We must protect and strengthen these values, just as partners with a European perspective need to fully embrace them. And with this, I would like to hand over to the Prime Minister, to our dear Prime Minister. Dear Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hadja, for an extensive overview of the amazing work that has been done over the past 100 days. Protect, strengthen, prepare. These are our priorities, and I think our priorities could not have been more timelier than today. We promised, as you said, Hadja, to deliver for the people of Europe, and I think we can fairly say that that is exactly what we are doing. We knew that this 13th presidency for Belgium would be a special one, with an unusual calendar, because we are at the end of the European legislature. And that is why we see clearly two timeframes in our presidency. A first one, which is putting all the efforts into concluding as many legislative files as possible, together with the member states, together with the parliament, and together with the commission. And then there's a second phase, which is focusing on what lies ahead, focusing on the future of the union. Today really is the demarcation line between the first phase and the second phase. And I must admit, our presidency teams have achieved more than what we thought would be possible during this first phase. We have worked since day one, together with our experts, together with our diplomats, together with our ministers. They have put all their energy and skills in concluding as many deals as possible. And I think, Hadja, you gave a good overview, and I think all of you have this document, which gives the list of 67 deals that we have concluded up to now. We had set the expectation at 60, so today already we are exceeding the expectation that has been set, deals that have been done with the Parliament and with the Commission. We're also laying the groundwork for the future prospects of European prosperity, with key building blocks such as, for example, the European industry deal. And besides that, of course, we continue our unwavering support to Ukraine, support to European farmers, and we are addressing challenges such as migration. I think that this week, the fact that the Migration Pact has been voted in the European Parliament is an important achievement. And I think now, of course, it's essential that it's being put into implementation as soon as possible. As you know, before end of this month, there will be a ministerial meeting in Ghent to make sure that the implementation of the Migration Pact can go as swift as possible. But besides that, we have had a long list of crucial agreements within the Council, including, for example, the AI Act, European Semester, the MFF review, the European Peace Facility, the Health Data Space platform work. I mean, there's a long, long list of all files with names that we know because there's been a lot of talking, and thanks to the good work together with our colleagues, we have been able to conclude them. Finally, we have concluded agreements, reached agreements on files where unanimity was needed. 50 billion for Ukraine, the 13th package of sanctions, the European Peace Facility, the use of windfall profits of the immobilized Russian assets, and so on. 2 European Councils, with another one next week, in perfect sync with the permanent president of the European Council, Charles Michel. We could say that it has been quite a ride, but there is still a lot of important work which needs to be finalized. Which brings me to the next chapter. And this is really looking ahead at what we will be doing in the next months. The Council of next week will accelerate our preparation work on the next European institutional cycle. If we want to keep the implementation of the Green Deal on track, we need to come with an ambitious competitiveness agenda. Why do we need an ambitious competitiveness agenda to make sure that the Green Deal is being realized? There's actually two reasons for it. First of all, the successful implementation of the Green Deal will only happen if we have a strong economic base which is able to support it and which helps in making this transition, which is really a fundamental transition. Just to give you an order of magnitude, the Green Deal will require about 1 trillion euro every year for the next 25 years to come. This will demand a tremendous shift in the methods which we use to implement this. And this is one of the reasons, for example, why we have asked former Prime Minister Enrico Letta to prepare a report on the future of the single market, and he will be presenting his report at the Council next week. He really has done tremendous work, and it gives us a roadmap on how to reinforce and how to bring the single market back into the 21st century. The second reason why this competitiveness agenda is so important to realize the Green Deal is that it also has a political dimension. We need to make sure that the political center remains aligned on the necessity of realizing the Green Deal and keeping it on track. We can only do that if we are more clear on how the implementation of the Green Deal will happen. It is crucial to keep the support of the political center in doing that. And there we need to be clear on what is the Green Deal, but the flip side also on how do we enable it to make it implemented. This brings me now to maybe an additional topic which I want to address in this press conference, and that is the upcoming elections throughout the European Union. Within 2 months, the people of the European Union will head to the ballot boxes. As you might have seen in the press, a recent investigation by Czech authorities have uncovered a pro-Russian influence operation in Europe, which involves several types of espionage networks. The investigation shows that Moscow has approached European members of parliament, has also paid European members of parliament in order to promote a Russian agenda here. Belgian intelligence services have confirmed the existence of pro-Russian interference networks with activities in several European countries and also here in Belgium. According to our intelligence service, the objectives of Moscow are very clear. The objective is to help elect more pro-Russian candidates to the European Parliament and to reinforce a certain pro-Russian narrative in that institution. The goal is very clear. A weakened European support for Ukraine serves Russia on the battlefield. And that is the real aim of what has been uncovered in the last weeks. These are very serious concerns, and that is why I have taken action. Following the revelations, I've been in contact with my Czech colleague, Czech Prime Minister. I've been in contact with the presidents of the European Commission and of the European Parliament. We cannot allow this type of Russian menace in our midst. We need to act, and we need to act both on the national level, and we also need to act on the EU level. On the national level, our judicial authorities have now confirmed that this interference is subject to a prosecution. The cash payment did not take place in Belgium, but the interference does. As Belgium is one of the seats of EU institutions, we have a responsibility. And our responsibility is to uphold that every citizen's right to a free and safe vote can be maintained. In Belgium, we have a new national law which came into force last week, and it explicitly targets interference. So this is what we are doing on the Belgium level. But I'm convinced that we also need to act on the EU level. We need more tools to fight Russian propaganda and to fight Russian disinformation. We are in a new reality, and we need to adapt to that new reality. That is why Belgium has asked Eurojust to convene and to discuss this matter urgently. Furthermore, We must examine how the mandate of the European Public Prosecutor's Office and how the mandate of OLAF, which is our anti-fraud office, can allow for prosecuting these types of threats coming from outside of the Union. If today the mandate would not be adequate for that, I think we should broaden the mandates to be sure that we have the right tools to fight what European democracy is confronted with. I also intend to raise this topic at the European Council, which is taking place next week. I have been in contact with several of my colleagues over the past days, and I intend to have more contact in the next days in preparation of the European Council of next week. It is clear that we must remain very vigilant related to any of future elections and definitely related to the European election, which is happening at the beginning of June. Belgium remains fully committed to working hand in hand with our European partners to build a stronger and a more resilient European Union. We will remain dedicated in our role as consensus builders. We are working not only in the interest of Belgium, but of course we're working in the interest of the entire European Union. I thank you for your attendance here, and of course we are open to answer any of your questions. Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, there. Mm-hmm. So the investigation is going on. I have received a certain level of detail, which is in a declassified report of my security services. But the question you asked, that is information which is classified information. Yep, there. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was you, but the blonde hair. Yeah. My message is, let's open our eyes. We are seeing that certain things are happening, and that is one example is what came out of the Czech, let me call it that way, the Czech investigation, but it's a cooperation with different intelligence services. So we have to act, and acting, for example, I think the Czech authorities have put certain persons and certain organizations on the Czech blacklist. I've understood that it is their intention to also ask to put them on a European blacklist. I think that's good. That's working on one side, but we also have to work on the other side. I mean, if there would be a type of bribery and our services indicate that payments have taken place, well, you need two sides for that to happen. You have people who organize it, but you also have people who receive it. The Belgian judicial investigation has been started now. But my question is, do we have, as European institutions, enough tools to combat that? And let me be clear to answer on your question. Our European citizens will not be fooled by Russian propaganda. But we need to be extremely clear to point out what Russian propaganda is and what the intent is. And the only intent is to weaken European democracy, and it is to weaken the support for Ukraine, which is one of the objectives that Russia has today. Yes.
Yeah, Andy Bounds from the Financial Times. Just on support for Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
One, what's your assessment of the US proposal on frozen assets to essentially borrow against the future interest to raise the money, bring it forward? And secondly, you talk about weakening support for Ukraine. Ukraine is crying out for weapon systems and air defense.
Mm-hmm.
Kiev is building to blow up around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Europe not providing more? Are we cowards or are we liars?
No, we're doing tremendous efforts, but it's quite clear that we need to do the maximum, and it will never be enough. Now, I was in Kiev a few weeks ago. At that point, there was a demand to have more artillery ammunition. The Belgian government decided, I think, within 2 days, to become part of the, what I would call Czech initiative, but it's a Czech initiative on another domain than what you were just talking about, which is purchasing artillery ammunition outside the Union. We dedicated 200 million to that. On the proposal to leverage frozen assets, I think you have written about this and written also about the fact that we are, of course, not part of the G7, but that we are part of the discussions which are happening within the G7. If there is an agreement within the G7 to go into that type of construction, we would be extremely open to work that out together with the G7, but we first need a consensus within the G7 on that.
And we have also a fund of 1.7 billion.
Yeah, and so on our side, we have taken the taxation of the proceeds. Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
On the nature restoration law, I read an interview where you said you thought it was a bad law. Can you give your specific reasons for thinking that it's a bad law? And do you think it's helpful to make such sweeping comments when the presidency is allegedly trying to reach a consensus amongst member states? And the second question, if I may, as well, on the strategic agenda. Do you have any comment on the absence of environmental ambitions in the strategic agenda compared to the last 5-year plan?
Okay. Well, first on nature restoration law, the first time I said that I thought that there was room for improvement is more than a year ago. More than a year ago, in Belgian press, I said, be careful. Something is coming which is not balanced. So my comments are not new. Now the Belgian position is that there will be an abstention. What I see throughout Europe is that we're not the only ones who have questions on the nature restoration law, and I see countries in the north, in the east, in the west, and in the south of Europe who have their concerns on this. We'll see what it will lead to. Our role is, of course, to be the compromise builder, but it's not because we are the compromise builder that as Belgians we cannot have an opinion, of course. I think that we need to find a balance, and that's what I think I indicated in my introduction, is if you want to realize the Green Deal, and I think it's crucial to realize the Green Deal in its entirety, everything that's in it, in the timing that we have agreed, we will need an economic base which is strong enough to do it. And we will need to keep heavy industry, for example, here in Europe. If heavy industry leaves Europe, they will produce somewhere in the world. They will just produce in a place in the world where the rules are less strict. So have we won then? No. As a world, we have lost. Because instead of producing in a place with heavy regulation, with strict regulation, it will be producing in a place where the regulation is less strict. The transition that we have to do is a gigantic transition. Decarbonizing is a gigantic amount of work. But what we have seen, for example, in the summit we did in Antwerp, which has produced something which is now called the Antwerp Declaration. We have now more than 1,000 signatories to that declaration, and also trade unions have signed that. I haven't seen anyone who says we should delay the Green Deal. I've heard everyone say, no, we need to stick to the Green Deal, but we need some tools to be able to realize it at a moment where we are under competition of the United States, which have their scheme, under competition of China, which is a more state-led economy. In that new environment, we need new tools to realize it. But let there be absolutely no doubt, we need to stick to the Green Deal and realize it in its entirety and in the timing that has been included. Yes, there.
Lisa O'Carroll from The Guardian, just to come back to Russian interference, can you give us a bit more detail about the status of this file from the Belgian security authorities? You said interference was subject to prosecution. You've got new laws. Have you got a file specifying names of MEPs that have been subjected to interference, or names of those who have, on Belgian soil, who have tried to perpetrate this interference? What stage is this prosecutable file at? Thanks.
Yeah, all these are very good questions. What I can say is that our federal prosecutor has started an investigation which is based on a declassified report that our intelligence services have brought out the day before yesterday. On the questions you ask, I mean, these are part of the secret of the investigation that the prosecutor's office is doing for the moment, and certain information is classified information which I myself do not have access to as well. Yes, please.
I can add maybe that we have decided a few months ago to expel the number of diplomats, Russian diplomats, who were so-called diplomat, but suspected of spying, and also diplomats who were accredited for European Union. So it's just also the decision that we've taken.
Silvia, hello, here. Silvia Yuso from El País newspaper from Spain. A follow-up on this. I know it's classified information, but can you give us a figure of how many countries do you suspect there are MEPs from how many countries? Because we know from some of them, but are there more from other parts of Europe, or is this more regional? Number one. Second, you said you're going to bring this to next council. What exactly are you going to propose to the other leaders, and when this Eurojust meeting might take place? And then a second different question, our Spanish Prime Minister on Palestine is embarking on a tour where he's pushing for trying to convince more countries to recognize the state of Palestine. I know you meant Belgium is open to this, but has some EU minister said last week in NATO, I think, that it should not be just symbolic, if I'm not mistaken. Are you planning to talk about this with the Spanish Prime Minister, and what is your response to the Spanish request?
Yeah, so maybe on the first question, and just in advance for any additional question on that, I cannot communicate on how many people, in which countries, which names, which gender they are, which party they are. I cannot answer to any of those questions. The Eurojust meeting, our federal prosecutor will in the next days demand that meeting, but has the intent to demand that that meeting in the European Council. First element is to address it, and I will be doing that together with Roberto Metsola, with whom I've been in frequent contact on this topic over the past days. And then I think the real question is, are we well equipped as European institutions to take action when we are confronted to these types of things that come out from intelligence questions? And on Palestine, maybe Hadja, I will let you answer.
You were in contact with the Spanish presidency. I think that you took the decision not to join, if I understand well. But what is my position, and I think that it's the position of the Belgian government, is that but we didn't discuss, by the way, that on restrained Minister of Council, is that we need the recognition be part of a political process and not a symbolic decision. But I let the Prime Minister answer. No,
I think, Hadja, I think you said it extremely well. The Belgian position has always been very clear on ending the violence and ending the needless killing of innocent civilians. And unfortunately, every day we think that good news might come, and good news is not coming. Neither related to the release of the hostages, which have been now have been unreleased for such a long time. But of course, the real question is, of any of the operations that are happening today, what's the strategic view? I mean, what's the future? We absolutely respect the fact that the ability for terrorist activity needs to be stopped and needs to be blocked. I agree with that. Israeli citizens have rights to be able to live in a secure environment, but where do you want to go? To us, a two-state solution is the only element. But to make a negotiation on a two-state solution possible, you will have to have credible and stable negotiation partners on both sides, and from the Arab community, the European community, and the United States. But just to add something, you know that the European Union is very divided on that issue, and the Belgian
position was very valuable to reach a consensus. So we mediate the polarizing position inside the EU, and we will be able to obtain a common statement about the need for a ceasefire, a humanitarian access, and so on. So we will continue to mediate the different positions inside the EU, and I've constantly repeated to my homologue from Arab countries that we are available to host any kind of initiative that could lead to a peaceful peace preparatory conference or something that could help the political process. And so in a few days, we will have a Council of Foreign Affairs with Arab countries from the Gulf. And we will certainly discuss that matter and the situation in the Middle East.
Okay, let's take 3 more questions. On the back there, on the side, with the glasses on.
Thank you. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Italian Radio. 2 questions, if I may. The first one on Ukraine. We are seeing massive bombing of civilian infrastructure. Kharkiv hit quite hard. Do you fear that this is part of a strategy to provoke a refugees crisis in Europe? And since one of the objectives of the presidency is to prepare, are you preparing for such a scenario? Second question on the European Council and the inquiry you announced today. Do you trust all your colleagues inside the European Council on such an issue as Russia influence in the EU? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good questions. First of all, on refugee crisis, if that would be the goal. I mean, the goal is to defend Ukraine as well as possible, and the attacks that we see show again the ruthlessness of Russia in basically targeting civil targets. And the priority on which we work together with our partners is to provide Ukraine the necessary support, for example, air defense, to avoid this. Second element, yes, I do trust my colleagues that they will do everything to make sure that European election is a real election, and that activities which are related to bribing and to propaganda are being disclosed, whether it now being from Russia or from anyone else. In Europe, we deserve elections where people make their choices, and where, of course, we will respect the result. But it's the Europeans who will make their choices, not other countries who would be trying to influence us. Yes, there. And then
Bonjour, Emmanuel Beretta du Point. Ce n'est pas la première fois que le Parlement est soumis à une influence étrangère. Le Qatargate, nous sommes plus d'1 an après. Aucun des députés impliqués n'est en prison. Tout le monde a repris son activité. À ma connaissance, aucun diplomate, ni qatari, ni marocain, ni mauritanien, n'a été inquiété. Le juge Claise a dû se déporter assez tardivement. Donc la question que je vous pose, selon la formule consacrée, avez-vous pleine confiance en la justice de votre pays?
Tout à fait, monsieur. J'espère que vous avez confiance dans la justice de votre pays aussi. Naturellement qu'on a plein confiance. Et honnêtement, comme je l'ai dit, je pense que les autorités belges et la justice belge a fait ce que l'institution aurait dû faire. Et on est intervenu parce que on voit que certaines institutions européennes ne sont pour l'instant pas organisées par rapport à une nouvelle réalité dans laquelle nous nous trouvons. Alors que dans une procédure judiciaire, ça prend du temps, et une des raisons pourquoi ça prend du temps, c'est que voilà, nous vivons dans un état de droit où les droits de la défense sont là, et n'importe dans quelle affaire doivent être là, mais j'ai pleine confiance dans la capacité de la justice belge d'aboutir cette investigation. Alors, ce n'est pas à moi de savoir où elle terminera, ce n'est pas à moi de l'influencer non plus. Ici aussi, L'action du procureur fédéral est une action qu'elle a fait de sa propre initiative. Ce n'est pas moi qui l'a demandé. Je pense que c'est normal que ça fonctionne comme ça dans un état de droit.
J'ajouterais aussi que c'est à l'Union européenne de prendre aussi les décisions pour renforcer la lutte contre d'éventuelles corruptions internes. Et il y a le Ethic Body qui a été voté et qui devrait donc améliorer la lutte contre d'éventuelles interférences et corruptions vis-à-vis de parlementaires européens.
Yes, here.
Vitaly Sizov, EUTVS. Thank you for the floor. Sorry that I repeat the same questions, but taking into account the situation in Ukraine, is it possible that you will discuss this situation with air defense during the next EU Council, and could it in some way accelerate the supply of air defense to Ukraine, and in particular, could it accelerate supply fighter jets from Belgium to Ukraine?
Okay.
Thank you.
So as the supply to the Ukrainian defense in any European Council, we've discussed it, so of course it will be discussed here as well. The supply of air defense systems is mostly done by countries on their national basis. Of course, we try to coordinate as much as possible. On the F-16, Belgium is part of the F-16 coalition. Our planes are being used today in the training exercises for the Ukrainian pilots, and so we are an important factor in making sure that they have the right training as pilots, but also as maintenance crew. To make sure that the planes can be used in the most effective way, and we have seen that in the next, let me say, at least in the next months, the first deliveries should be able to happen. The Belgian planes themselves, we still need them themselves, and we are not one of those countries where the F-35s are already replacing the F-16s. That will happen from next year on. At that moment, we have F-16s which are available, but it will be a decision of the next government to give the final go-ahead for that. Okay, thank you for your questions.
When it's all